everyone.
Okay, he's
We're
just weird.
back,
Hi!
besties. How is everybody?
We are back. We are at the Annapolis Book Festival at the Key School, and now we are with Cece Harrington, Christina. Cece Harrington is her pen name. I don't know what you want people to call you, but we'll call you both.
Yeah, no,
Author.
Christina's good.
Christina's
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
And
yeah.
she's British, so just soak in that.
I know, it's just
that lovely accent. Just soak it in. So we are going to talk to Christina today about her book, Wild Oak. And just a little thank you so much for being here.
yes.
Oh, are you kidding me? This is so exciting for me. I've never been on a podcast, and I've never been on anything live. I'm still trying to figure out where I'm looking, but that's okay.
That's
It's
okay.
all good.
We don't
It's
know
okay.
either.
We don't
Yeah.
either.
We when we started this podcast, Molly had a dream that we started a podcast, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds fun. How do we do that?" Neither of us knew.
No.
We started, and we still had no idea.
And I don't think we know what we're doing now.
We've
We're
been
just
doing
faking
it for 2
it.
years, and we're
I
like,
just know that we're not disrobing. Right?
No, we're
That's
no-
the
we're
one thing
close
we're
thing on.
not disrobing right now.
it's not that kind of show.
No.
It's not that kind of show.
Okay.
We are at a school. Remember that.
Just to be clear, we won't do that when we're not at a school either.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm never doing
Mom,
that in public.
Got the lipstick going on. So, all right. So let me give you a little bit of information about Christina. I'm a slow reader. I like that because I like to absorb, and I have to read fast because of the podcast, but I love soaking in the words. So,
I am a slow reader. I'm not just saying that. I genuinely am a slow reader. It takes me a long time to read a book, but I kind of love that.
yeah.
I don't want to race through it, and I know I kind of when I am racing through something, that gives me a sign that I'm not. It's not really speaking
it's not
to
in
me.
there.
I'm just feeling like, oh, I've just got to get to the
Yeah,
end.
I gotta finish it. I do that too because we read a book a week for the pod, and sometimes I'm reading a book and I'm like, okay, I don't care. Can I just skip whole chapters at this point? Like this one's
You're
just not it for
skimming
me.
chapters. You're just speed reading, and you're like,
Yeah.
yep.
I
yep,
put
yep,
the
yep.
audiobook at 2 speed.
I can't do that.
It's like talking to me.
Oh,
It's
last
like having
chapter.
ants in the brain if you go faster than 1.5.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
So this is your first book,
It is. Yeah.
and this is your first book, and it is not only receiving like a wild positive reception from fans. You just won the ALA Schneider Award.
No big deal.
Which is like as a librarian, I'm going, she won the Schneider
Schneider
Award.
Award.
Like, I feel like I'm not even cool enough to be in your presence right now.
Are
Like,
you kidding me? I can't believe it won the Schneider Award. I'm
It's brilliant.
sort of amazed. It's such an honor. It's a huge deal to me.
Yeah.
It should
Particularly
be.
this award of,
Yeah.
it's just for the bit to be recognized in that way. It's just amazing. It's amazing to me.
and there are
really.
lots of book awards, and I'm not downplaying any of them, but the librarians chose you.
Yes.
Like, that's a big deal.
They're book people.
Like, our job is to say, this is a book that you need to read, and I'm putting myself in there, we picked it.
I mean, you are in
No.
the ALA.
Yeah, but I'm not on the Schneider committee. I'm not cool like that.
No, April, it's amazing. It really is. I think the amazing thing about the awards in general is that it helps get the book into more kids' hands. And that, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. But just as a writer, it's just incredible. It really is. It's such an honor. I cried. Can we move on? Because I'm going to start crying again.
Yeah.
Yes,
No, yes,
absolutely.
yes,
Can you give us
absolutely.
a synopsis of your book? Can you tell us what your book is about?
Yeah, sure. So it's set in 1963 in the UK when it was actually legal to walk into a department store and buy a leopard cub.
Bananas.
Which kind of blows
I
my
am
mind.
so jealous.
Yeah.
Because
No.
everybody here knows very well that Molly would buy a tiger.
No, she wouldn't.
Yes,
No,
she would.
No, she'd think about it, but she wouldn't actually do it.
No, I would not let her.
No. So
Tiger would be in the house.
Yeah, so it's set in that. So the story is about one such cub who gets bought from Harrods in London, posh department store, and
Very
pretty
posh.
quickly abandoned
Yeah.
because it's never a good idea to buy a wild animal
Because we don't
and
need
keep
wild
them
animals
Right.
pets.
as a pet in an apartment.
In an apartment.
A London flat, yeah.
Yeah.
A flat, an
Yeah,
apartment.
Why?
it's not even that big of one.
No.
It's like,
No. So
in London, guys.
In London.
yeah,
In London.
Yeah, exactly. So,
In 1963.
1963.
That does not belong there.
No. So, and the woman who buys him is completely clueless. And in fact, inspired by, I was showing a video clip this morning from the British film archives of this woman who is walking a leopard through the streets of London. She's wearing a fur coat. It's got one of those very sort of old-fashioned accents where it's like, oh, and she's walking her leopard through the streets.
And you got that Kincaid and
exactly. So sorry, back to the story. The story is about one such cub. His name is Rumpus. He gets bought and pretty quickly abandoned, and a young girl whose name is Maggie. She's 12, and Maggie has a very strong stutter. This makes it really hard for her to talk to humans, but she has no trouble talking to animals. And the two of them meet in WILDOAK Forest, which in the book is one of the last remaining pieces of ancient woodland in the UK, and it's under threat. So it's a book about these three threats: a snow leopard, a child, a forest, humans, animals, and our environment. But it's really a book. It's a book about the nature of communication and understanding. It's a book about the power of empathy.
Yeah, 100%. There is a line from your book, and we met last night at the Author Vet, and I told you that I've been saying it to my son who's on the autism spectrum, and that's be kind to yourself. Being human is hard. And you told me where that came from. So I was wondering if you could tell our listeners.
I mean, that's the heart of that line. I think the artist actually wrote it. She incorporated it into the cover.
The cover is gorgeous.
Yeah, be gentle with yourself.
Be gentle with yourself. Sorry, I said be kind, but it's be gentle.
No,
and on the back it says everything speaks, just not the same language on the tree, which is just beautiful.
Yeah, which is sort of
the artwork
is gorgeous.
Yes, Diana Sudyaka is amazing.
Yeah.
She's the artist. It's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So that line. Sorry to go back to your question. I have a very special friend out in Colorado, and she was walking through the woods, and she would tell you, in the conversation that we had, she would tell you that she felt that. She felt the trees. I mean, it just sounds... when I put words to it, it just sounds so sort of woo-woo.
No, I get it.
No.
I get it.
She felt that the trees were talking to her and trying to reassure her.
Oh, I get that.
I feel like
not with words.
I feel that all the...
Yeah.
I live in Calvert County. We moved there from Texas, and I grew up in the woods. Like, I grew up in the woods of upstate New York.
Yeah.
So the forest is my happy place. The woods are my happy place. And when we bought this house, and I go outside, it's like I'm taking this big, deep breath. Yeah. And the forest is breathing with me. Yeah. It's like... You're here. Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
And it's magic.
Yeah.
And the forest does that, and you have that magic in here.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
You have that magic in here.
Sure.
Thank you.
So one of the reasons that I wanted to pick you as an author for us to interview, we were sent the list of the authors, and you're a children's author.
Yeah.
So for me, as a children's librarian, I was like, can we please put her on the list, because like this is the only one that's like I really want to talk to from the children's author perspective. And people. So this is my thing with children's authors. People have this misconception that it's not the same level of difficulty to write.
Right.
Yes, they do have that.
And that's just so far from the truth.
Facts.
Yeah.
So I wondered, like, what was that like for you when you're like, I'm going to write a children's book? Like, what sort of feedback did you get initially?
Sure. Well, I think there's maybe two things to respond to there. One is that when I started to write, and I've been writing for some time now, I didn't sit down with the intention to write for children or young readers. For me, the writing process, it really does come from inside. It comes from when I began. I think it comes from my 11-year-old self. I really do. I was doing an evening class. My daughter was teeny tiny, and I was doing an evening class at Brown University. I needed to get out of the house, and my husband's like, go do something.
Brown University,
like, with,
no big deal.
With brain. No, it's the community college. Like anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, truly. No, anyway, it's community, like the evening classes.
Okay, but she says that, but she studied English lit at Oxford. So yeah, no big deal.
No big deal.
Okay. No, the community college classes, which were amazing, and truly,
we're not picking. We think it's amazing. You're brilliant.
No,
truly.
Anyone could do these classes, and I totally recommend them. And I sat down and I did the first homework assignment because I'm so sort of nerdy and diligent. And that was just sort of what came out.
Yeah.
It was the protagonist was an 11-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And I can't turn it on like a tap.
Yeah.
So if so, it's just
You have
what came.
The moment has to inspire. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
If I'm not inspired to write, I'm not writing.
Yeah.
The words have to be there. I had a teacher once tell me, my degree's in English and creative writing, and he said, we write the stories we told ourselves to go to sleep as children.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
And he's not wrong. We're writing for ourselves first. As an author, that's the first, we are our first negative critic. Every word we put on page, we are hypercritical of. I'm sure you were a negative Nancy the whole way. I'm sure you're like, oh, this is garbage. I don't like this.
Picture that from her.
And
this is like positivity.
I'm sure you
here.
struggled.
No, absolutely no. Oh my gosh.
Every author struggles.
Yeah,
We have
huge self-doubt.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you kidding me?
Yeah.
I've got self-doubt right now. Sitting here thinking,
Imposter
what am I even
syndrome.
doing
Imposter
here?
syndrome
Sitting,
is
why
really
do you guys
real.
want to talk? Yeah. No, it is.
It's brilliant that we get these still, even though we're full of these doubts, we still get to put magic in the world. And that's beautiful, I think.
Yeah. I don't know what that is.
That might be my thing.
Oh.
I forgot to turn it.
That's
You could just go ahead and turn it. Okay. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
You're
It's
okay.
not like it's
This is not the first time this has happened.
No.
Yes, we've done it ourselves.
So are you working on anything else right now?
Well, so hang on, let me circle back. In terms of people thinking that it's easier to write for children, yeah, I just don't agree with that.
no.
And I think that children deserve our very best work. I am passionate about what stories.
We have this argument.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we have a friend of the pod, Francesca Zappia. She writes YA, and Eliza and Her Monsters is a spectacular book. My daughters are obsessed with it. I'm sure your daughter will love it. There's this line we quote all the time. There's a monster inside my head, and it controls my doubt.
There's a monster in my brain that controls my doubt.
Okay, yeah.
And that's from Chessie, one of Chessie's books. But Chessie writes up. She doesn't. She expects her children to learn and grow with her. So she will put big words in there. She will put more complex feelings in there. And April says this all the time.
Yeah.
We should expect more from our children's authors.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really liked about this, so I didn't know when we selected your book, when we selected you to interview, which again, thank you. I didn't know really what your book was about. I just knew it's a children's author. I want to interview a children's author. So when I started reading your book, and I told you this last night, and I got a little emotional last night. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm going to try not to get emotional now. So I was in speech therapy when I was in elementary school because I stuttered. And occasionally still, when I don't take the time to slow down, my tongue still catches and I will fumble over words and I will have difficulty and it'll tick, like just like in your book. And I have to stop and like sometimes I'll clap, sometimes I'll be like, that's not the words. Like I have to talk myself through it. So I'm instantly relating with this character. And that is what I want from a children's book. I want a book where a kid's like, I've never read a book that I'm in.
Yeah.
I've never read a book that like, this is okay. This is okay that I stutter. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just like normalizing that diversity and neurodiversity and all these different things. Like, I'm a mom of an autistic kid. Like, I need to see that. And so for me, I went in like, I want to talk to the children's author, and I came out like, we want to read this for Battle of the Books with our system.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful. And I want to talk about your audiobook real quick, if that's okay. Because that's how I read your book.
Well, and hang on, can I just say,
Yeah.
April, I mean, thank you so much for saying that. I think it's also really important, though, that this book for the child who doesn't have a stutter.
Yes.
And who has never met a child who stutters, or perhaps they have met a child who stutters and they don't know it.
Yes,
because that child is struggling
It's such a great message.
doing everything they can not to show it.
Yeah.
And so it's really important from both perspectives, because my hope is that, yes, there's lots of information in the back, but my hope is that for a young person reading this book who doesn't stutter or hasn't met a child who stutters, that they come away with a sense of compassion and understanding.
Yes.
And so when they do meet a person that stutters, because they will, then they understand.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You're completely right. When I became a librarian, it's still a work in progress, I think, but children's literature has become more diverse. But there was a real need for diversity. And one of the things that we were learning about in library school, and, other librarians were talking about, was mirrors. Like, kids need mirrors of themselves. And, like, my thing now is, they don't just need mirrors. They need to see people who are different than them in whatever capacity that is. If it's color, if it's ability, whatever. But they need to see it normalized. Orientation, gender, whatever. Like, it needs to be, these are just people.
Yeah.
Like, I am more than just, like, Maggie is more than just her stutter.
Yep.
She is a person with compassion. She uses books to help Rumpus and I was just like, oh, she used books. Like, she's a person that is misunderstood because people only want to see that part of her, and that she's trying really hard to hide. But when she gets to be herself, and when she's with her animals, she is a person that is so admirable.
Yeah. And that's something I think as a writer that's really important. Whatever character you're creating, this is a human being on the page. It's a fictional person, but this is a human being. And
we talk about characters that are like they're real people all the time.
Yeah,
they're human to us.
Absolutely. So it was really important, and I felt that it was one of the few things that I knew right from the beginning, that Maggie's stutter is part of who she is. It's a big part of who she is, and forms so much of who she is, but it doesn't define her.
It's not all she is.
It's not all she is, and it doesn't hold her back.
That's
I knew that that's how it would begin, but I also knew how it would end.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we talked to our son about. My husband's behind the camera now. When he was officially diagnosed with autism at 7, we sat down with him to talk to him. We've only started calling it autism within the past year, because at the time he just thought, well, I'm different, like I don't understand, and it was hard to explain it, but now he's asking more questions, so now he knows the word autism. But I was like, it doesn't define who you are. You are my son. You are so much more than this. He's just this big ball of he's light.
He's so amazing.
He's amazing. He's magic. I like to say he's magic. He's also gifted. So he's this he's Sheldon Cooper, but
Sheldon Cooper.
He really is. He's just amazing. He's all math and sciencey, and he doesn't have great social skills. But
human beings are complicated.
They're complicated.
And as a character in a book, I think when you really get drawn into a book, it's when you really care for the character.
Yes.
And so the character has to be complex and rounded and exist on the page in all of those different ways.
Absolutely.
Maggie loves animals, and she loves to read, and she's thoughtful, and she's a city kid, and she gets to the forest, and she's never been in a forest like that. And so there's all sorts of things that go into creating a character, and how
in the forest in your book becomes a character as well. It has a life. It has a presence. It's not a setting.
That's
it is
beautiful.
a character.
I love that you said that. That means so much to me.
We love.
Thank you.
I'm all about it. We love that. We love
a setting that becomes
Discovery of Witches, the Bishop House, right?
Yeah.
So
and my grandfather was also named Fred, so
Fred
being I was like, her grandpa Fred.
So somebody asked me the other day, would you ever like the book to be made into a movie?
Oh yeah.
And if you would, this was a young reader who asked this, who would you like? What movie stars would you like? And I thought, brilliant question.
Yeah.
And then I thought, perhaps I shouldn't make it look as if I've thought about this, but I have thought about
this. Of course,
yes, you have.
The person that I would love to play Fred would be Bill Nighy.
Yes! Oh my gosh!
I just love him so much. Have you ever seen the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel?
Yes.
Him in that.
Yes.
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 I just love Bill
Yes.
Nighy.
Yes.
Now that's
So
what's
we'll
in my
put
head.
it out into the universe.
Because it was my grandpa the whole time
juju.
I was reading it. I was picturing my Fred, but yes, that's who it is.
So other than doing press for this, what do you have going on? Are you working on anything else?
I am. It's been busy. Things have been. The response to the book has been amazing.
It's a brilliant book. You're a brilliant author.
There's a huge amount of luck that goes into it.
Absolutely.
But it's definitely
Absolutely.
been busier than I expected. So it's a little bit slow going on the new one right now.
I mean,
but
that's
okay.
writing in general.
That's okay. Yes. I do have this guy's this. Can I just share this guy?
Yes,
please.
absolutely.
So he's sort of my lucky. He's like one of my my lucky charms. The World Wildlife Fund has this program where you can adopt a snow leopard.
Yes.
So look it up.
We'll
if
put
you've
it in
got
our
a young,
links.
Yeah. If you've got a young reader that enjoys the book, that's something that you
can
do.
tag along with it. Yes.
Which really helps.
Yeah. That's awesome.
We love
That's
it.
It's such a wild story that you could buy exotic animals from.
I see
And it's true.
I
That's
know,
true, right? You
Yes,
know that.
and I loved your author's note at the end. Loved your author's note where you talked about your inspiration for this book, and I just thought that really added as well. Like, I love author's notes, by the way. That's like one of my jams is like reading author's notes.
I mean, I was worried that it would, sort of going on and on, so people really want to know. But actually, I think in this instance, it is helpful. It's in all cases, in all three threads, because I wanted to share where this kernel of inspiration for Rumpus came from. And are we okay for time?
You're fine. You're good.
Okay.
Good.
So Christian the Lion, have you heard of Christian the Lion?
Yes, I was actually going to mention that.
Yeah.
Yes. If you haven't seen this, gang, it's on YouTube. I'll put it in the links.
Yeah,
but this man adopts a lion cub and then takes it back to Africa later, and as a cub to, set it back. The lion remembers him years later.
Well, he bought these two, the two men buy the lion cub from Harrods, from the pet kingdom.
And then they take...
But that's part of what my inspiration, where it came from, was because I was reading about Christian the Lion, and they take him home, they feel sorry for this cub, so they take him home, and then there are these photographs, I'm forgetting the name of the photographer now, but the pictures are amazing of this cub in their apartment, and you
it's like this elaborate, big, gorgeous apartment too, right?
But it's very clear that you cannot keep this lion, and how inappropriate that is. But for Christian, his story ends incredibly. They work with George Adamson, the conservationist, who I think comes into their shop. They're selling secondhand furniture, and George Adamson just walks into their shop, and so they're able to work with him to get the lion cub released into the wild in Kenya. And I was thinking, well, how many lion cubs did that happen to?
Yeah,
not many, I'm sure.
So that's what started my imagination. Well, what might have happened?
Where are they?
And
right?
What might have
because
happened to
Harrods
a
did
cub?
sell a lot of wild exotic animals.
Yeah.
Elephants.
Yeah.
The queen bought an elephant for one of the princes, and it's in the zoo today.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I read it. I'll put it in the notes if I can find it when I find it. But she had bought him an elephant as a birthday present, and they put it in the London Zoo.
Oh, was that? I thought that was to an American president. I might have got that wrong.
I thought it was the queen with one of the princes.
There were armadillos.
Yes.
There were alligators.
And they had bought like a bunch of animals at the.
To be fair and honest, there probably weren't snow leopards, but there were leopards and cheetahs.
Yeah.
So I did ring Harrods.
I think there were snow leopards. I'm here.
Yeah, let's stay.
We're here for it. We're going to keep this part of fiction.
And I have to say, oh, sorry. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
I loved being in the forest with them.
Yeah.
And was this a familiar backdrop for your childhood?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, well, I'll get to that, but I just want to say I rang Harrods because I tried to find out, did they have any records of the receipts or the or like, what happened? You bought a leopard,
like
and
did
then
you guys
went
buy them
home?
in bulk?
Was there an instruction leaflet? Like what?
Did it come?
So I was really hoping I could find something in their archives department, but they didn't have anything.
They
Yeah,
don't want
they don't want
people
knowing.
Yeah, no. But the forest, yeah. So I grew up in the English countryside, in a village. I was outside a lot. My brothers were much bigger than me. I was barefoot a lot of the time outside.
Love that. I love that she was barefoot.
Just not in the English countryside.
I can even feel it now. Like if I shut my eyes, I can feel what a tree trunk, the bark, feels like against my bare feet. Mm-hmm. It's a particular kind of feeling. Yeah. You know. So yeah, it was, and then the inspiration for WILDOAK Forest is there is a place in Cornwall called the Roundwood, and it's owned by the National Trust, so it's free. It's open to the public. It's a small kind of forest, a woodland, and it's just such a beautiful, special place. And so that was kind of the inspiration in my mind, but I just had to imagine it. I tend to be able to visit in the summertime, so I was having to imagine it in the snow in 1963. It does not normally snow in Cornwall, but it did in 1963. Wow. The big freeze was a thing. The Thames froze over.
Yes.
That was all. And then the other... People often ask, why was it set in 1963? And part of that is because all of the cat stuff was true, and that was happening at the time. But also, Rachel Carson had just published Silent Spring in America, and this big freeze was happening in Cornwall. So this was, it was the beginnings sort of the environmental movement, and I just felt... like it, I needed that place to be real and rooted in a real time and space.
And because you've basically made it a character, I feel like I've been there. Yeah. I've never been there, but I feel like I've been there. Oh, it's really...
Oh, you're going to make me cry now. That's just lovely to hear.
Cry.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. But that's my hope, and that's what we do, isn't it? We travel through books.
Yeah.
I call myself a fantastical traveller because that's what books will do. That they will take you to other places. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been to space, but I've read a lot of books that take place in space.
I get a bit spooked. I think they're going to space.
Andy Weir knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah, if you want to dive into sci-fi, that's
the guy.
Probably our favorite, Andy Weir. So I'm sorry, can I go back and we talk about the audiobook again?
Yeah, sorry, that's right. I didn't mean to cut you off. Yes, audiobook.
The audiobook, it's fantastic, especially if you're audiobook fans. Like Molly and I read a lot on audiobooks. This is something that she talks about on the pod a lot. She's dyslexic, and so that's the way that she accesses books a lot of the time. I just love to be my commute's long, so I love an audiobook on my commute. One of the things I really liked about your book is Rumpus's part is third person. Yes. Maggie's part is first person.
That's right.
And the narrator nails both of them. And it won an Audible award.
It did. So, I just want to cheers to Camelia O'Grady. She's the narrator, the actress.
Did you get to pick your narrator?
So I kind of did, awesome. Which is amazing.
It's nice to have that control. Especially when it's your words going out into the world.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I worked the director of audio at Scholastic, is an amazing man, and so he sent me 2 or 3 auditions, and the one thing that I had said, and I'm not that kind of diva person that's it has to be no, and I'd like some ice water with grapes in it.
Only blue M&Ms.
No.
We didn't get our blue M&Ms, just so everybody knows.
No, but the one thing I said was, if it gets released on audiobook, it needs to be a narrator who is British.
Facts.
And who is a person that stutters now or who had stuttered as a child. The audio piece of that was really important. I did not want it to be somebody doing a British accent or somebody...
faking a stutter.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that you did that too, because that's authentic.
We don't want Dick Van Dyke-ing. Anybody Dick Van Dyke reading it,
Camelia did an amazing job. She really did, because it's hard. Also, there are some of Maggie's passages that's hard, and so I I was so excited when it won that award.
Yeah.
She really deserves it, and all the production team, everybody at Scholastic and Red Apple. It was just it
was very good,
terrific. Yeah.
And so local libraries, we love local libraries on Book Besties.
Yes, we do.
I borrowed it from Hoopla. So it's probably on your Hoopla since that's how they curate their collection. So, check it out there, but also buy the book because
it's beautiful.
Support our author friends. Sorry. Current writing project. Did we talk about your current writing project?
Yep.
They're all running together now.
No, you're good. You're
good. We talked about that.
What is one thing you hope readers of WILDOAK will take away from your book?
Oh, it's such an interesting question. It's such a good question and a difficult question because I feel that every time a person picks up a book, they are bringing their own unique, individual lived life and experience to that book. So I find this question hard to answer because I hope whatever it is that you are needing as a reader, maybe you're a child, maybe you're a child that's never left a city, maybe you're a child that lives in the countryside, or you're a child who stutters, or, depending on who you are, I hope that you get whatever you need from this book. I will say that I hope that for whoever you are, adult, young, wherever you're coming from into this story, that you leave with a sense of belonging, that you feel whoever you are showing up in this world, that you belong, and that there is a place for you exactly as you are. You are part of this world, and there is a place for you.
She gave me that lesson today.
I did.
She gave me that lesson today.
I did.
I mean, I as an adult still need it.
I think we'll do.
So, snow leopard, favorite animal?
Oh, good question. It's really hard because I grew up with cats. I had 2 cats. I didn't know this. I only thought about this the other day. I grew up with 2 cats that kind of looked like this guy, farm cats, that were grey. And they were called Bonnie and Clyde.
Nice.
And
Good
I
names.
absolutely love them. Bonnie knew, she would crawl up the side of the house to where my window was. And they kind of looked like Rumpus and Rosie. So as a child, I would have said cats. But now my hubby's allergic to cats, and we've got this lab, and I love her to bits. And we've also just got a new puppy who's an absolute scamp.
Yeah, having a second dog is amazing. Second
Is
dogs
it?
are a good idea.
Is it? Are they?
Yes.
I have 2.
Please be on my side for this one. I'm trying to convince him we need another dog.
Right. Yes.
We have a very
It's
large
no
Saint Bernard.
Extra work at all. It doesn't turn your life upside down. He's such a scamp. He's a tiny little border terrier, and he's so mischievous. He's so jaunty. He's got so much sort of swag about him.
They're confident, those little ones. They always
so
are.
cheerful, and he brings such sort of swagger into the room. But yes, I'm going to say that the snow leopard is my favourite animal because they're spectacular.
My favorite animal now is a hippo, but when I was in elementary school, I had to do a research project on an animal that was at our Columbus Zoo, because we were going to the Columbus Zoo, and I picked snow leopard.
Did
so
you?
I'm pretty sure,
No.
Christina, you and I were just supposed to meet at some point in our lives.
Oh my goodness, that's so amazing.
I know, yeah.
They really are spectacular.
They are awesome.
creatures.
Yeah, they're so nimble. Is that the word I'm looking for? They're just able to. They pounce like cats, but they also they track through snow. That's
and their tails are amazing in terms of their balance. It really helps them. But I don't know if we talked about this, but when I was researching the book, I went to interview a zoologist at a conservation-based zoo in Colorado where they had a snow leopard, and his name was Bhutan. And it was amazing. I got to sort of be up close with him. And fun fact is that she showed me, when it was time, when he was hungry, she showed me how to feed him with chopsticks and raw meatballs. Yeah. And that is why Rumpus, for real, in the book, loves meatballs. Because that's all true. But she read early drafts of the book and was going through sort of the Rumpus sections and really looking at his behaviours and what was
helping you with mannerisms and stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So the more I learned about them, I mean, they just are really beautiful and amazing creatures.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the reasons why I really liked that his part was third person. Yeah. Because I think your book gets comparisons to the one and only Ivan, which is an animal in captivity, and it's first person, also middle grade. But that book being all in first person, I felt like that was harder for me to be. I found it less accessible, even though you're in his head.
Yep.
To me, being the person on the outside who's reading Rumpus's story that way, it was more like I was involved in the story, but I was removed enough that it felt like it's an animal.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, that's a conscious decision on my part. I thought really hard about that. I mean, one of my favourite books growing up was Watership Down.
Yeah. It's a great book.
So, you know, the rabbits are anthropomorphized. They might as well be humans. I mean, I can still hear Hazel's voice, you know. And I didn't want to do that with this because this book is about understanding and communication. It's everything speaks, just not the same language. It would have, for this book, I don't think that would have been the right thing for me to do. It would have missed the point.
I would 100% agree.
What the story is
I 100% agree. And when I was talking to my partner in the Battle of the Books selection, and she was like, "Oh, so it's like One and Only Ivan." I was like, "It's not though."
No.
But it takes skill to jump from third person to first person and back to third person, because confusing those voices and getting that writing right it's hard. Good ups on you.
So your next book, is it also 2 narrators? Is it also historical fiction?
No, it's not. And it's too early. It's too early stage for me to talk about it.
We'll talk about it off camera, and you guys don't get to know. But we're friends now.
We are friends now. But yeah, it's funny. I was saying earlier today, I don't write with that intention of this book is going to be X, Y, Z. And so it just sort of comes from a different place. I sometimes feel I really loved Liz Gilbert's book Big Magic. For any writers and creators out there that are having wobbly moments or struggle with self-doubt, Big Magic is a fantastic book.
Is it?
And she talks about this idea of the story is looking for a teller. And that's how I feel. You know, if you're open... I'm serving the story. It's not what I'm setting out to do.
I'm the vessel for that idea.
Yeah, I'm not setting out, just for me at least. You know, I can only speak for myself. I'm not setting out to write a story with 2 narrators or with you know, that's particularly for this kind of reader, or it's just not how I work. Yeah.
I like that. Well, is there anything else you want to share with us while you're here?
This is just so amazing, you guys. I'm so excited to be here. I was sitting.
Your time today.
No,
this is amazing. This has been great.
We get to fangirl over authors. Like that's the dream for us.
No, so thank you for spending the time. Enjoy the festival.
Thank you so much.
Since you are from the area and have been a part of the festival before, what's something advice for a first timer?
Oh, I mean, there are so many great discussions, so many of the panels. You can turn up pretty much at any panel and then walk out having learned something interesting or valuable or thought-provoking. So I love the kind of idea of like a pick and mix bag where you're just sort of going into something and maybe you don't know anything about it. That's awesome. But I would say the secondhand book sale.
Yes.
There is that sort of stereotype of I don't know, shopping for certain things. For me, I love a secondhand book sale. Yeah. I really do.
I do too. Yeah. I have a favorite secondhand book shop where we live.
I love looking for dedications. So if a book is if it's given as a gift and I find it in a secondhand store, I'll buy it because I like that memory is still important. That was important to
choose. The previous life of that book. I love that. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Well, Christina, thank you again so much for being here with us.
We appreciate it.
The book is WILDOAK by C.C. Harrington, Christina. Yes. And we've got Rumpus here, of course. It's great. It's a children's book. This is for anyone. Anyone can read this. It's a really good read. And I do not say that about every book. I really don't. Please believe that. So thank you again. We have one more live this afternoon with Anthony Mara, who is actually the keynote here today at the Key School at the Annapolis Book Festival. Thank you again.
We'll be back, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.